Welcome to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction Career Technical Education 2021 Summer Conference. I'm Kevin Sparks, your host for this morning's sessions. More about myself a little bit later. Today, we have 3 recorded conference sessions, followed by a live Q&A session at 11 o'clock. Today, our sessions will cover the Certified Protection Officer or CPO program and the Certified Protection Officer Instructor or CPOI course. If you haven't already grabbed a cup of your favorite beverage to get you kick-started, feel free to do so now. I hope that you're enjoying your summer break and that you've all had a time to catch your breath and relax. I know for me, it's been a busy summer, and so I really can't say that it's been much of a break. The 2020-2021 school year was like nothing that any of us have ever witnessed. We all faced numerous challenges, from in-person instruction to virtual learning to social distancing to deciding whether or not we needed to get vaccinated. All the while, we were supposed to wear a mask and teach through that mask, and most importantly, not forget to wash our hands. So, as I said earlier, my name is Kevin Sparks. I'm the Security and Protective Services Pathway Program Specialist for the Law and Public Safety Education Network, commonly referred to as LAPSA. If you're not a member of LAPSA, you need to visit the LAPSA website at www.lapsen.org and become a member. Why should you become a member? Well, hey, first of all, your membership is already paid for by the state of North Carolina. So all you have to do is go in and join if you're not already a member. David Barber, who is your education consultant for law and public safety for the state of North Carolina, is also the chairman of the board of directors for LAPSA. So if you have any questions about being a member of LAPSA, you can most certainly reach out to him, and I'm sure he'll be more than happy to give you any other information that you need. Speaking of LAPSA, we also have some upcoming professional development that you might be interested in. On Tuesday, August the 31st at 7 p.m., you can join us virtually for a new teacher orientation. I know for myself, being a new teacher, it was something that assisted me in learning the educational side of being a teacher, because I had come straight from industry. So I understood the industry sides of everything, but I didn't really understand the educational side. I had no idea what IEPs or 504s were, and I was able to go through a lot of different workshops and learn about it. I was also able to see how to locate resources within LAPSA, as well as how to present the information to my students. So, as I said earlier, my name is Kevin Sparks. I am a law and public safety teacher at Peach County High School. We're located about 100 miles south of Atlanta. So all those yellow bluebird school buses that most of your kids probably ride to school are built about 2 miles from my office, as well as that succulent, sweet Georgia peach that you probably enjoy during the summer months. They're grown right here in Peach County. So that gives you a little information about Peach County itself. I also worked with the Fort Valley Police Department. I had previously retired from the police department as a lieutenant back in 2008 before I moved to a different part of the state of Georgia and went to work for a state agency. I spent the last 13 years down in coastal Georgia, 7.5 of those years with a state law enforcement agency. And then the last little over 3 years, I spent in corporate security. My educational background, like most police officers, I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice administration through Columbia Southern University. And I have a master's in security management from American Military University. So my educational background, along with the opportunity to work in corporate security, provided me with the necessary tools to be asked to be the pathway specialist for LAPSN for security and protective services. In addition to the new teacher orientation that I just mentioned, join us January 31st in Cumming, Georgia, which is just north of Atlanta, for the 2022 LAPSN National Conference. We're going to be there for the CPO instructor course. It's a pre-conference course that we will be putting on January 31st. And then the regular conference runs February the 1st through February the 3rd. Like I said, in Cumming, Georgia, which is just north of Atlanta. So I hope that you'll join us there for the conference. I'm looking forward to it. I will be there in attendance, and I hope that you'll choose to join us. As I said, I have a background in corporate security, but what I also said was that I didn't have much experience in teaching, especially at the high school level. Like many of you, I was a field training officer. So I had the industry background in law and public safety, and the corporate security background, but I just didn't possess the understanding of the educational side. And so LAPSN has allowed me to better educate myself in order to better present the information to my students about different careers within law and public safety. Dr. Tom Washburn, who is the executive director of LAPSN, has not only mentored me as an educator, but he's also shared many resources that he developed over the years that has allowed me to continue to grow as an educator. And I feel like that it's only fair that I take the knowledge and experience that I have in the corporate security side and be able to share that information with you in order to make the security and protective services pathway the best that we possibly can. Did I mention that my first year as an educator came during COVID? That's right. I started last school year in July of 2020. And so like yourselves, I had to understand the concepts of not only in-person instruction, but also virtual learning. So I guess you could really say that I really don't understand what most people would consider a normal school year. And I just really don't know yet what that looks like. Hopefully, I'll get to experience that this year. We're getting ready to move to a new school. So I'm hopeful that some things will kind of change now. However, I could not have done this alone. Dr. Washburn approached me and said that he wanted to build a curriculum review team. And so he reached out through his network of contacts, and he came up with a group of 5 upstanding educators Josh Clark of Roanoke Rapids High School, as well as Kevin Matthews of Harnett Central High School. And the three of us, along with Dr. Washburn, met in Columbia, South Carolina to review the entire CPO course and to develop a CPOI course that would be approved by the International Foundation of Protection Officers. This process included us going through each of the chapters in the CPO textbook, the Professional Protection Officer, and to ensure that the information in that textbook would align with our educational standards. Each part of this program was broken down, and each member of the curriculum review team was given a side task based on our knowledge and skills to move it from the Professional Protection Officer into what is now your new IP42 program. Each lesson that we went through includes essential questions that we felt like every student should be able to answer at the end of each lesson, and what information that we hope that the student would still remember several years later. Each lesson has main and supporting standards, just like the ones that we have in our regular law and public safety classes that accompany them, so it makes it easier for you to pass the information along to the students. So we had two main objectives that we wanted to accomplish in preparing this course. Our first objective was to enable our students to successfully take and pass this course to obtain their certification. The second objective was we wanted to prepare them to be career ready. So that's two of the main objectives that we had. So I want you to take a few minutes, and I want you to go to the IFPO website at www.ifpo.org, and I want you to take a look around. Now, if you have a student that's under the age of 18, can they take this course? Yes. Will they receive the certification? They will receive a certificate showing that they completed the course, and upon their 18th birthday, they are then eligible to apply for their certification. As you probably well know, the state of North Carolina says that a security officer who is planning on working unarmed can do so at the age of 18. So let's take about 5 minutes. I want you to take a look around the IFPO website, look at some of the educational programs that they offer besides the CPO course and the requirements for membership. And then when we come back, we'll talk more about the CPO course. So welcome back. Well, why are we here? We're here to discuss the Certified Protection Officer course, APSN and the IFPO. You just had a few minutes to take a look around the IFPO website. Some of you may already be teaching the CPO course at your school, while others may be considering adding it to your pathway as an additional option. I understand that some of you already use it as a third-year program, and that's great. Even if you're familiar with the CPO program, hopefully I'll be able to share some information with you that you might find useful. The CPO program is managed by the International Foundation of Protection Officers, which was formed in 1988, and it offers multiple security industry recognized certifications, as you probably saw there on their website. So why should your school district offer the CPO? Well, as you know, as a CTE educator, our job is to provide students with the foundational skills and certifications that will allow them to be industry and career ready. As a former corporate security manager, I recognized the value of industry recognized credentials that allowed applicants to stand apart from other candidates. While many candidates come to the corporate security side and they possess no prior training or no prior education, which in some cases is not necessarily a bad thing, because they don't always bring bad habits along with them. Like I'm sure some of you have seen, especially those of us that have been in law enforcement, we've seen officers come from other agencies, and sometimes they bring bad habits. Sometimes security officers are no different, or they just simply don't have the desire to really get to learn the security industry and what it's all about. So the security industry basically has three main objectives: protection of assets, which is the protection of people and information. Why can that be important? Obviously, we can't put a value on somebody's life. There's just no way we could put a value to that. It's also sometimes difficult to put a value on property. But a lot of people often overlook information. Now, if you're in the healthcare security industry, you kind of understand the information aspect from HIPAA. And I'm sure that you probably have received some type of training through your own local school district that covers, you know, certain things that you can and can't discuss pertaining to a person's protected healthcare information, commonly referred to in the business as PHI. And the other thing is, you get people that they're not looking for a career, they're looking for a job. So when I see somebody come in and they possess, you know, this type of industry recognized certification, I often tend to try to fast track those individuals to some type of supervisory level position. Maybe not immediately, because that can kind of disrupt the flow of your team, but you can also start to prepare them, whether you have a small site with just one site supervisor, or whether you have a large site with multiple officers. When I was a corporate security manager, I managed 22 different sites with about 200 employees. So some of my sites were small, and some didn't even have site supervisors. Some of them had a site supervisor and 3 or 4 officers. And then I had one site that had as many as 30 officers. And so we had shift supervisors on each shift. So I understood the importance of people coming in with this type of industry recognized certification because it often exceeds the state required training requirements. As I said before, you took a look at the IFPO website. You know, a student can get the course completed before the age of 18. However, they must be at least 18 and to contact the IFPO in order to receive the certification, as well as they must be the age of 18 at least to work as an unarmed security officer in the state of North Carolina. So Security and Protective Services prepares individuals to perform a variety of duties. And you see here on the screen some of those duties that are listed here. For an example, patrol and investigative activities, traffic control, crowd control, public relations. That's got to be one of the biggest things that a lot of people overlook in the security industry. I've worked with security officers and I've had security supervisors that felt like, you know, well, I know security and nobody else knows security, but customer service and public relations plays a huge part in the security industry. Also, interviewing witnesses. Sometimes you have officers that respond to a call and they need to interview people to find out what went on. Maybe it was an accident in the parking lot. Maybe somebody came in and found their office, you know, had been broken into and their laptop was missing. So they need to understand the skills of interviewing witnesses, why it's important. Do we need to collect any evidence, or do we need to preserve a crime scene for law enforcement to respond? Because I can tell you from a corporate security manager's position, not everything will warrant law enforcement response. And you'll have some customers that don't want law enforcement to respond. So it's important that our officers know how to handle evidence collection, management, chain of custody. I know we all cover it in our law and public safety classes, but it bears worth repeating. As you will find as we go through this IP42 course, a lot of this mirrors what you've already covered in IP41. So, you know, something to think about. We talked a little bit about information protection. What about if you've got security officers that are working a job site and that job site happens to be Nike and they have access to, you know, the computer? Do they have access to employee lists, employee names, addresses, phone numbers? You know, I hope that they don't have information to any kind of trade secrets. You know, how to make the next Air Jordan shoe. That information may be somewhere in the computer, but I hope that security officers don't have that level of access to gain, access to that information. As I said, customer relations and public relations, they kind of mirror one another. But when I look at customer relations, I look at it from, does your site supervisor have a good relationship with the point of contact at the facility that they're asked to provide protection for? It's important. Sometimes you'll have security officers that have been working at a site for a long period of time. They sometimes forget who they work for, what name's on the shirt, who signs their paycheck, what name's on their paycheck, because they almost feel like they belong to the company itself, even though they may be a contracted employee and not necessarily a proprietary or in-house security officer. Another thing, legal aspects. That's another thing that's covered within this course. It kind of mirrors, again, what you cover in IP41, but there are some differences. For an example, did you know that in the state of South Carolina, that security officers had the same powers of arrest as those of a deputy sheriff. Now, where I'm at here in Georgia, we just recently revamped our laws, and so we're not able to stop and detain people unless a felony has been committed in the officer's presence or to protect one's life or that of someone else's. Other than that, you simply need to observe and report. And that's something that all security officers need to understand. So we have basic crime prevention methods. What could that be? Maybe it's lighting in the parking lot. Maybe it's lighting around the side of the buildings. Maybe it's proper signage around fences around the property or at entrances, warning them that CCTV is in use. So these are some things that you can look at. Conducting risk assessments. I do a lot of risk assessments on the side, and I can tell you that that it's something that a lot of people often overlook. What's the likelihood that a certain type of incident is going to, take place at a facility? Obviously, with the increase in violence that we've seen across the nation in recent years, it's not will it occur here, it's when it will occur here. Then we have crime prevention through environmental design. How are we protecting the built environment? One of the things that I'm sure you probably cover in your IP41, at least in some small regard, is the broken windows theory. And I cover it in my intro course as well a little bit. I go through it a little bit further in depth in Criminal Justice Essentials, which is my second level class here in Georgia, because I want the students to understand that plays into crime prevention through environmental design. Then we look at dignitary protection. Obviously, we see celebrities all the time walking the red carpet in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, different areas, and you see guys, sometimes you may not understand who they are, but we as trained law and public safety teachers, we kind of know who they are. You kind of look at them from along the same lines as the U.S. Secret Service. We look at officer safety as well as the use of force. So these are all vital components to the CP42, or I'm sorry, the IP42 course or the CPO program. So I want you to take a couple of minutes and let's go now over to the Lapsen website at www.lapsen.org, and we're gonna go through there. And I want you to take a few minutes to take a look at the lesson plans. We're not going to spend but about 5 minutes doing that because we're going to go further in depth into each section during the third session today. So you're going to start out, once you've pulled up the website, as you'll see here at the top, you want to click on who we are. Then you're going to click down under educational members. Over to the side of that, you'll see North Carolina. You want to click on there. So again, you see there at the very top, State Representative David Barber, his information is there. So if you have questions about the law and public safety classes or about Lapsen, feel free to give him a call at his cell phone there, or at, shoot him an email. As I said earlier, your state membership is paid for by the state of North Carolina. So we want to make sure if you're not a member, you join. It's very valuable. So you're going to scroll down a little bit further, and under the law, public safety, corrections, and security, you see state course lesson plans. You want to click on IP42. So once you click on that, it will pull up the North Carolina IP42 class. So we broke down each section of the textbook. And so Kevin Matthews was assigned to cover sections 1 and 1.2, and you'll see the information there. As we scroll down a little bit further, section 2 is communications. That was covered by Josh Clark. We'll come back to you going and taking a little look around here in just a minute, but I just wanted to cover the highlights of each section. Section 3, the protection officer functions, was one that I handled, as well as section 4, crime prevention and physical security. As I mentioned earlier in my opening about my background, I worked with a state agency in the state of Georgia. I worked for the Georgia Port Authority, and so I understood how to be a regular street cop, but I really didn't understand the facility security side. So that's when I shifted gears from my degree in criminal justice to get my degree in security management and to kind of understand the basic concepts of physical security. I was fortunate enough that I was able to receive some training from Federal Protective Services at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, so that I kind of further understood the concepts of physical security. So that's why I took that particular section. Section 5 deals with safety and fire protection. Why is it important? Kevin Matthews can give you the answers to that. Section 6, Josh Clark took on deviance, crime, and violence. Section 7 was one that I did on risk and threat management. Like I said, I do a lot of risk assessments, and so I felt like that was one that I could easily handle. Section 8, I took on investigations. Like I said, corporate security investigations take on a whole different meaning. Section 9, Kevin Matthews took for legal aspects of security. And then section 10 is one that I took on, and it basically covers the global security environment. As we know, a lot of organizations are not just based in the continental United States, they have global footprints. And so section 10 kind of deals with that. So let's take about 5 minutes, and I want you to take a chance to look around here at the lesson plans. Like I said, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it because we're going to come back further and take a little bit deeper dive into So that concludes our first session, which talks about the IFPO, lapsing, the CPO course, and the reasons that we should be teaching that in our classrooms. I hope that you've been able to gain some valuable insight into this program and the rewrite, if you will, of IP42. And over the next few months, there's going to be a rewrite of the educational standards that align with your IP42. So be on the lookout for that, that information to be coming out as well. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you in session 2.